What's going on, everyone? Today I'm going to be going over my top 10 most anticipated TV shows of 2025. So these are just any brand new shows coming out or new seasons for existing shows, the ones that I'm most excited for. And trust me, there are a lot of shows coming out next year that I'm very excited for, more than I think any other year in history. So let's start this video off with some honorable mentions. I have a few here I want to go over. So first things first, Peacemaker Season 2. I'm looking forward to this. I don't really think I've heard anything about it just yet. It's going to take place in the DCU, which of course the first season technically didn't, and I'm curious to see like how they're going to handle that. Like, are they going to make everything that happened in the first season canon? They really can't, because like the whole end sequence literally had the Justice League in that last episode. So I don't really know how they're gonna make that work, but I guess they're just gonna say, okay, most of season 1 was true except for the end part. That's probably what they're gonna end up doing, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think season 1 was really solid. It's honestly one of the better DC shows out there. So yeah, definitely looking forward to season 2. The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 3 is also going to be an honorable mention for me. Even though I'm definitely looking forward to it, it's just not nearly as exciting as some of the other shows on this list. Probably because we just had season 2 like 2 months ago. Like, it's just way too recent for me to really be that excited for it right now. And I mean, season 2 was good and all, but it didn't really end in a way that got me that excited for what's coming next. Hopefully there's going to be some sort of reunion with Rick towards the end of the season or something like that. That'd be really cool to see, but I'm not really expecting that because there's apparently been talks of a season 4 even, which I really hope doesn't happen. I think they should end the show soon and kind of get those characters back to the Commonwealth so we can do some other stuff in the Walking Dead universe going forward. Andor season 2 is a weird one because although I think this might be like one of the better shows on this list when it's all said and done, I just don't necessarily think I have as much excitement for it as maybe other people do, just because I feel like we already know where these things are going to lead. We know it's going to lead into Rogue One, so I think there isn't really that much excitement about like the possibilities of what this season's going to be. But is it going to be, you know, a solid quality show with a really solid writing? Yeah, certainly it is going to be, just because season 1 was as well, and this is just a continuation of that. So I'm definitely looking forward to it, but just not as much as some of the other shows on this list. And lastly, for the honorable mentions, Gen V season 2. I really liked the first season of Gen V, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what things are going to be like in the second season, but it's just not enough for me to be in the top 10. In number 10 spot is going to be Alien Earth. Now, this is a series I'm really looking forward to, but I'm also confused as to how it's going to work, because I believe the timeline of it, at least based on the description of the show, it sounds like it's going to take place before the original Alien series. So I'm not really sure how that's going to work with the aliens, the xenomorphs coming to Earth. How is that going to work? I don't know. I guess the way it's going to have to be is that it's going to have to be covered up in some way. Like, the general public isn't going to know about xenomorphs on Earth, but I'm still really curious to see what it's going to look like. We're going to have, you know, a futuristic Earth with xenomorphs landing on it and having a bunch of them going all around, and certain characters having to deal with that. And I think that could make for a really interesting show. Don't really know what they have planned for it beyond just the first season. I know there's going to be 8 episodes, and it's going to come out sometime in the summer. So I just want more Alien content, so that's enough for me to be really excited for this. But other than that, not really one I'm going to put much higher. In number 9 spot is going to be It Welcome to Derry. So this is the It prequel series that they're doing that takes place in the 1960s, which of course is like 20 something years, I think 27 years before the first film, which makes sense because he comes every 27 years. So it's going to just take place between the time where Pennywise comes before that. That's just, I'm assuming, what it's going to be. Because I believe the movie took place in 1987, I want to say. It's somewhere in there, somewhere in the 80s. So this is just going to take place in the 60s. And all I really know about this is that Andy Muschietti is returning. I'm not really sure how big his involvement is, but obviously him being involved is a good thing because he was the director of the It movies that came out over, 2017, 2019. So I think that's a good sign. I know Bill Skarsgård is returning as Pennywise, so that's also a good sign. And yeah, that's pretty much all I need to know to be excited for this. I'm a big fan of the It movies. I really like just that general concept. I feel like it's the closest to Freddy Krueger we have currently as a horror icon, because some of how Pennywise works is kind of similar to Freddy Krueger, where he kind of like builds off of your fears, and that's basically like what he haunts you with. I really like that concept, and seeing more of that I'm totally on board for. As long as there's a high quality to the show and they're putting a lot of effort into it, I think it's going to be pretty good. In number 8 spot, The Walking Dead Dead City season 2. So even though I think Daryl Dixon as a show is better than Dead City, I think I'm just more excited for Dead City season 2 because it's been longer since we've had Dead City. Dead City season 1 came out 2 years ago, so it's a whole 2 years till season 2, and I think that just allowed me to build up more anticipation for what's going to happen next. And I can't wait to see what's going to happen, because it seems like Negan is going to be getting some sort of Lucille back, and he's going to be leading this group. And now I'm a little worried about them just going into that repetitive motion of, you know, Negan going back to who he was before and him and Maggie having a bunch of fights and arguments. I don't think Negan is going to be like full on Negan again like he was, you know, OG Negan. I think what he's going to be doing here is going to be utilizing similar techniques that he had when he was Negan back in the day to kind of take advantage of this group. That's my guess. I don't think he's going to have, you know, Lucille back just for himself, because he quite literally had a whole episode in season 10 where he essentially put Lucille to rest by getting rid of the bat and putting it in the fire. He's not going to do that whole thing again. I think he's doing it just for show, and definitely will be interesting to see. I'm also excited because this season's going to have 8 episodes instead of the usual 6, which is nice because that means they're allowing things to breathe a little longer rather than just rushing it out, like how The Ones Who Live was, and honestly Daryl Dixon season 2. Like 6 episodes just normally isn't enough for these shows, so I'm glad they're allowing it to breathe with 8 episodes. And the fact that they've been working on the season for quite a while tells me that it might end up being really solid. I'm just so curious to see what it's going to be like. Cannot wait for it. Number 8 spot, I got Spider Noir. Now, I didn't actually know about this show until like very recently, or at least I heard about it a while ago, and then I had no idea it was coming out this year, but randomly I saw a tweet about it and I was like, oh wait, that's coming out this year? So yes, we are getting Spider Noir really soon. This is a Spider-Man show with the Spider Noir character. Of course, if you've seen the Across the Spider-Verse or Into the Spider-Verse films, you will have already seen Spider Noir in those, played by the wonderful Nicolas Cage. And guess what? Nicolas Cage is coming back for the series. But guess what? It's not animated, it's live action, which sounds insane, man. This is the most insane thing they could have possibly have come up with, and I'm all for it. A Spider-Man series with Nicolas Cage playing Spider-Man, of course, Spider Noir, and it takes place in the 1930s in New York, and apparently it's going to be black and white. It's going to have this old-timey feel to it and this old-timey aesthetic. Obviously, if it's in the 1930s, I believe he's supposed to be a private investigator, and it's just going to be all of these, you know, interesting mysteries and things that Spider Noir does. I don't really know, to be honest, but that sounds incredible. Like, it's going to be one of the most interesting concepts for a comic book show ever, and I'm all for it. I've never read a Spider Noir comic. I don't really know too much about the character. Just, you know, I only really know much about him from the Spider-Verse films, but that's enough for me to be excited. Nicolas Cage in the role, I mean, holy shit, how can you not be excited for this? Come on. The only worry I have for this is, of course, it is made by Sony, and Sony doesn't have the best track record when it comes to Spider-Man related projects as of recently, of course, but I mean, I don't see a world where this isn't really good. It's freaking Nicolas Cage as Spider Noir in live action. There's been a couple of screenshots released, behind the scenes, you know, shots, and it looks really cool. The whole outfit and everything. Oh my goodness, man. I'm so for this, and I can't wait for it. I believe Steve Lightfoot is writing most of it, and he was a writer on The Punisher. So I like The Punisher, you know, so any writer that was on that show working on this sounds good to me. I don't really know when this is going to come out, but my assumption is sometime like later in the year, probably later in fall or something like that. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, but who knows. Also, Brendan Gleeson's going to be in it, and he's a really solid actor. In number 6 spot is going to be The Last of Us Season 2. So this is an interesting one to place because I've actually never played the games before. I've mentioned that in my reactions to Season 1, so I have no idea where the story is headed. Obviously, people who have played the second game have told me that yes, there's a lot to the second game, so there's probably going to be a lot of content for them to focus on. And I believe Season 2 and 3 are meant to adapt the second game, or possibly even Season 4. I have no idea. All I know is it's not going to all be adapted in one season, most likely. But I've never played the game, so it's hard to have that same anticipation that maybe other people do related to the game, but I definitely am still really excited. I thought Season 1 of The Last of Us was really solid. I don't think it was perfect. I thought some of it was a bit rushed for me, at least personally. I felt like the storylines were so over and done with within like an episode. You would get like one new story, one new character, one new like villain and situation, and then next episode they'd be gone and it would be a completely new thing the next episode. And I kind of wish they dealt with storylines a bit longer, maybe like, not, I don't want to say drawn it out, but like just a little bit more, spend more time with the things so you can spend more time caring about it. But that's just a personal thing. I'm still really looking forward to the next season because The Last of Us was really solid. It was a really high quality show, one of the better, you know, zombie shows I've seen. There is already a trailer for it, so I do think it's probably going to be coming out earlier in the year. I don't think there's a solid release date on it just yet, but my guess is probably like March or April of this year, maybe May. I'm not really sure. I just can't wait for it because if it's anything close to the same quality as Season 1, then that's all good in my opinion. I have heard a lot of people who didn't like the second game, which kind of makes me curious to see, like, are they going to adapt it similarly to the game in any way, shape, or form, even though a lot of people seem to not really like it. But I don't really know the story, so I guess I'll find out when the season comes out. And definitely going to play the games following that, because I'm really curious to see what the games are like as well. In number 5 spot is going to be A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight. So this is the brand new Game of Thrones series coming out, which would make the second spinoff that Game of Thrones has had. And I'm really looking forward to it because it's Game of Thrones. Like, that's all it needs to be for me to be excited for it. The fact that it is a brand new Game of Thrones show. Now, I do think one thing that holds it back from being like more exciting is the fact that I do know the story is meant to be a much smaller scale, like personal story, which is completely fine. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I do think in the Game of Thrones universe, I do tend to prefer the larger scale stuff, like big battles and, you know, big conflicts, big political conflicts. It does seem like this is meant to be a smaller story with smaller characters that don't have like as big of an importance to the Game of Thrones lore, which I don't know that for sure. I'm just basing off of what I've heard from other people, from what they know of the books. I have no idea if that's true or not, though. Just don't kill the messenger. Don't get me wrong, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's totally fine that it's meant to be a smaller scale show. I just think it makes it just a little bit less exciting than it would be if it was a larger scale show like House of the Dragon or the original Game of Thrones show. But I'm still really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, it's only 6 episodes, which is also a little unfortunate, but I do think it's meant to be a smaller story without much to it. So therefore, yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense. I just can't wait to see what it's going to be like. More Game of Thrones content, the better. I do believe this is coming out sometime in the summer, so yeah, can't wait for that. In number 4 spot, Invincible Season 3. So I'm surprised Season 3 is coming out this soon, and I remember hearing it and I was like, wait, what? This comes out this soon? Because obviously there was a pretty big gap between Season 1 and Season 2, and then Season 2 was even split up in between 2 different parts. But no, Season 3 is just coming out this February, literally in a month. We already have a trailer for it as well. That is so exciting, and it looks pretty good based on the trailer, but just based on the fact that there's meant to be like 8 seasons of the show, there's so much to it, and Season 2 ended in such a crazy way. There's no way the show is not just going to get better and better and better. And I've heard some great things from fans of the comics. They've been saying that the story does get a lot better as it goes along, and there are crazy things that haven't even happened yet. People are saying Season 3 and 4 are going to be like miles better than the first 2 seasons because of what happens next in the comics. So I cannot wait to find out what that's going to be like, and more Invincible, the better. I think the show has been getting better and better. I think Season 2 was better than Season 1. So hopefully Season 3 just keeps going with that, and it's better than the last 2 seasons. In number 3 spot, Squid Game Season 3. We literally just had Season 2, but yes, Season 3 is coming out this year. And there's a couple of rumors right now saying that it's going to come out this summer, which is really soon. I was assuming maybe we'll get it in fall or around Christmas time, just like we got Season 2 around Christmas time. But no, there's rumors right now saying it's going to come out in the summer, which is just absolutely insane. But I'm assuming that's because they probably filmed Season 2 and 3 back to back, hence why they're releasing so close to each other, even though Season 1 released like so far behind Season 2. And Season 2 definitely ended in a way that kind of told me that this was meant to be a part 1 and a part 2, since it kind of ended on a big cliffhanger without all of the games actually happening within that year of games that they were supposed to do. There's only 3 games that they did in Season 2, whereas Season 1 had like 6 full games. So that means we're going to get the last 3 games in Season 3. Now, I'm okay with them splitting it up like that because we still had a lot of content in Season 2. There was so much more than just the games that allowed them to, you know, build on the characters more than even Season 1 did. And so Season 3, having these characters that we've already grown to love in Season 2, means that Season 3 can focus just on the crazy shit. We don't have to focus too much time on character building and character development because all that stuff is already done. They can jump right into Season 4 or right into Season 3, right with the games, and we can just get going with that. And there's already some, you know, hints of what the games are going to be. People are obviously speculating based on the end credit scene of Season 2 of what the games could be. There's also a lot of hints in the room where they sleep of what the future games could be. I think some people are speculating they might do like a human-sized version of chess, and whoever gets out, I guess, in the game of chess just gets killed. I'm not sure if that's actually going to happen, but there's some people speculating that. Lots of crazy things that they could end up doing. I do think they will shut down the games by the end of the Season 3. I think that's the best way for them to end the series. I know they have a bunch of spin-offs planned. They have the American spin-off planned, but I don't know if that's meant to be a spin-off or a remake. Is it going to be like in the same universe or not? I'm not really sure about how that's going to work, but this is going to be the final season of the main show, so I think it would make sense to have it end where they fully end the games and succeed in their mission. But really curious to see who's going to make it out alive, because I'm sure a lot of characters are going to die, and that'll be really exciting to watch. So cannot wait to get into that, hopefully this summer, and I will definitely be doing videos on it, of course. And the top two is very obvious. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you definitely know what these top two spots are. You can probably guess them yourself, and I'm sure most people are probably going to have a very similar top two as well. Number two, Daredevil Born Again. Obviously, this is going to be my top two. I cannot wait for this. It comes out this March. Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead are the main directors working on the series. They are directors from Loki and Moon Knight, which is obviously a good thing. You also have the showrunner, Dario Scardapane. Not really sure if I'm pronouncing that name right, but he was the Punisher showrunner, or at least he was one of the showrunners, one of the writers on the Punisher. So you have talented people working on the show. You also have, Daredevil returning, obviously. You have the same story from the original Daredevil series continuing into this season with the same characters. All of it is just building up to be one of the best MCU shows they've ever done, if done correctly. They're also doing a lot of episodes. I believe there's going to be 9 episodes in the first season, and the second season is going to have another 9 episodes. It's going to be TVMA. It's going to have a similar level of violence to the original show. At least that's what they've been saying about the show. There isn't any trailers yet, although there has been some trailers that have been shown behind the scenes at specific events, and those have kind of leaked online. I haven't personally seen those trailers myself, but I've heard good things about them. I'm waiting for the full trailer release, hopefully within the next few weeks. I feel like it has to come out soon, considering we're only 2 months away from this season, and I just want to see what it's going to look like. I want to see what the story is going to be like. I want to see what the tone is going to fully feel like. Even though they've told us these things, I want to fully get that confirmed for myself. John Bernthal is returning as the Punisher. Karen's returning. Froggy's returning. All these characters are returning. Kingpin, you have everything you want there. My only worry is that even though they'll try to replicate that tone and feel of the original series, I'm worried it's just not going to reach that for one reason or another. One of my biggest worries is the aspect ratio. A lot of people might say the aspect ratio does not matter at all, and that's not a big deal, but for me that does matter. Part of the feel and tone of that show was because of the aspect ratio, and I really think they need to nail that, but I'm worried the MCU is just going to force that same aspect ratio that they've been doing for all their Marvel shows. The only time they've changed the aspect ratio in their shows was in WandaVision and Agatha all along. Maybe they have done it a couple times in other shows as well. I'm not really too sure, but I don't remember them changing it in any other shows. But I really want them to do the original Defenders Daredevil aspect ratio. I think that'll give it the same tone as that show and will allow it to feel like a season 4 of that show, like a full-on continuation rather than a completely new series. I'm just thankful it's not what they originally planned, because the original plan was for them to do a complete reboot where they use the same actor, Charlie Cox, as Daredevil, but it's a completely new thing, a completely new character. That was the original plan. Very glad they did not end up doing that, because that would have sucked. There was also a lot of people involved that did not have any sort of involvement with the original series or the Punisher, and I'm glad they were able to get some solid directors and writers working here. So let's hope it ends up being really, really good. That'll be best case scenario. Worst case scenario is it just ends up being a huge disappointment and we're all pissed. But let's hope that doesn't happen. And in the number 1 spot is obviously going to be Stranger Things Season 5. I've been waiting for this for so long, ever since Season 4 came out, and we kind of ended on a pretty huge cliffhanger where, in some senses, similar to Squid Game Season 2 and 3, Season 4 and 5 kind of are going to work as a part 1 and a part 2, because the Vecna storyline is still continuing into this next season. They didn't end it, completely fulfilling that storyline. There is more with that character going forward. And I really do think Stranger Things has been mostly improving season to season. The only exception to that, I do think season 1 was better than season 2, but I think season 3 was better than season 1 and 2, and I think season 4 was the best season of the show thus far. And hopefully season 5 keeps up with that and becomes the best season. I just want to see satisfying conclusions for these characters, because obviously it's going to be the final season. I hope there's a lot of character deaths. I think this show has definitely lacked in character deaths. They definitely need to have balls and just kill off some characters to make sure that you're going to have, a consequential and emotional finale. And I think they will do that, at least for a couple. I think there's going to be a couple deaths. I think Steve will be one of the big ones. Personally, I think that's going to happen. I don't think they'll do Hopper just because he already died. So doing that again will be kind of weird. But I think there's potential to have one of the kids die, even because they're not really kids anymore. So I feel like it wouldn't be as crazy to have a kid die. And despite all that, can't wait for more Stranger Things content. I absolutely love this show. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. It has such a good aesthetic to it, great music. It's always well shot. Like, there's rarely a moment where they kind of cheapen out with this show. I mean, it's been in progress for the past like 2 to 3 years. It's going to be one of the best seasons of all time. I feel like it has to be if they really want to give us a satisfying conclusion. I mean, the show has been running for 9 years now. That's insane. So giving it a satisfying conclusion is a must. They absolutely need to do that. And I think they're going to do it. I really do. I think they're going to just absolutely nail it. And I cannot wait for this. Hopefully it comes out sooner than later, but I feel like it probably won't come out till like fall or maybe even like later in 2025, like towards the very, very end of the year, just because we're at January now. There's not even a trailer or a teaser. I guess there is a semi teaser they did like a couple months ago, but there's not been much more than that. So I'm assuming it's going to be probably fall. I would assume like October they'll release it. And yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know your most anticipated TV shows of 2025. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Peace out, everyone.